Marhaba Habibi, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to the show. Today we're diving into a topic that's been making waves in the global business world. Why Chinese companies are increasingly going global. It's a question I've been asked a lot recently, so let's break it down. As we all know, post-COVID, China has been systematically deleveraging, especially in the real estate sector. What many people don't know is that ever since 2018, financial deleveraging has already been underway. And as a compensation to that kind of a deleveraging, there has been an acceleration in the pace and intensity of so-called supply chain reforms. A crucial aspect of this initiative has been the unprecedented strengthening of support for the technology and manufacturing sector. As pure players of the capital markets, I guess most of our audiences may only focus on the negative impact of this kind of deleveraging on the overall macroeconomic kind of way, since that's the mainstream media coverage image on China in recent years. However, as some kind of insiders, we can share you a very counterintuitive piece of data. The fact is, from 2021 to 2023, during the post-pandemic 3 years, compared to the previous decade, the combined profits of all listed Chinese companies, no matter it's an A-share, Hong Kong listed H shares, red chip stocks, or even US listed Chinese companies, of course, excluding those in the real estate and the financial sectors, have actually been accelerating. Given that China's industrial landscape, when we carve out finance and real estate sector, what we left behind in here is primarily technology and manufacturing sectors. This is a fairly contrarian kind of piece of data. And as a result of financial and real estate deleveraging, there are extensive amount of money been rapidly flowing into the manufacturing and technology sectors. And this has led to a significant decrease in financing cost for most technology and manufacturing sector companies, especially if you're already in sector champion. Well, based on our own experiences, the financing cost for our own portfolio companies have dropped to something around 2%. If you look back into the history, this is a fairly low level. Meanwhile, if you compare it horizontally, it's even lower than the 10-year US Treasury yield, even after the Fed's rate cut. Also, the deleveraging of both finance and real estate sector has expanded the basis of labor supply. For instance, the number of insurance agents of insurance giants in China has dropped from 7 million at its peak to roughly 2 million. The decline of costs of labor and finance, of course, together with the improvement of management efficiency, thanks to the implementation of all kinds of technology, no matter it's AI and digitization, has led to this counterintuitive data we mentioned earlier. The accelerated growth in combined profits of technology and manufacturing enterprises. Of course, it's only one side of the story, while the other side of the story is that, given the massive amount of production network, everybody within somehow benefited from this network effect, in a sense that everyone endeavored to survive and thrive, created an aggregation effect on the optimization of the whole network. Like you can do JIT, because all your suppliers are just within miles and in pretty much the same pace with you in terms of production. And that's also part of the reason why Vietnam benefited from the network expansion during the post-COVID age. On the other hand, the intense internal competition in China's manufacturing and technology sector has also fostered highly competitive enterprises and superior products, of course. For instance, during the first half of 2024, BYD delivered more than 1.5 million vehicles worldwide, while the second one, well-known Tesla, delivered only 830,000 vehicles. I mean, it's nearly one half of BYD. While auto giants like BMW ranked the third with only 260,000 vehicles. Of course, it's only covering electric vehicles. And both the fourth and fifth place were also taken by Chinese companies. I mean, emerging companies like Wuling and Li Auto, both delivering just over 200,000 vehicles. And what's surprising us the most is that the fifth one, Li Auto, just opened for business only like 5-6 years. From another perspective, China's total electricity generation in 2023 exceeded 9.3 trillion kilowatt hours, compared to just 4.2 trillion kilowatt hours for the US. And Japan and Russia were just above 1 trillion kilowatt hours, with India roughly around 2 trillion. The gap is quite huge. Well, think about this. The States, although made it at the second place, generated only less than one half that of China. In addition, in the shipbuilding industry, as of the third quarter of 2024, China's total completed shipbuilding tonnage exceeded something around 36 million tons, with new orders exceeding 87 million tons and a backlog of something around 200 million tons. These three metrics represented 55%, 75%, and 61% of the global market shares respectively. Furthermore, in the higher end of this segment, the shipbuilding industry, green shipbuilding, China's market share exceeds well over 70%. This kind of data profiling just to give us a general sense that China, through intense domestic competition, has created a massive supply of high-quality products at affordable prices. Of course, the other side of the story is it creates extremely intense domestic competition, leading to a massive overinvestment in production capacity and consequently a pricing need for overseas market. Another frequently asked question is whether Chinese companies are going global because of the lowering profit margins. Well, a simpler answer is both yes and no. There are two sides of the story. For larger scale enterprises like BYD, Huawei, they have very strong competitiveness domestically, and their global story expansion is very profitable. To me, it is so natural and rational for such companies to shine in the global markets. Well, we believe that competitiveness is a key, not short-term profits. These products and large-scale organizational capabilities, which have been trained to perfection in a highly competitive Chinese domestic market, can outperform competitors in markets where competition is less intense. For example, in the Middle East market, within Geely, G-Tour, and BYD priced at 1/3 to only 1/2 of their competitors. But the cars comes with a comparable or even better quality. In summary, competitiveness or value proposition is the key, not short-term margins. Margins to us is just simply a natural result of such competitiveness. Also, there is always a concern of localization, which is a significant challenge. From our perspective, visioning into the next decade, and perhaps even longer, will be a more fragmented world. To become a true multinational company, it's no longer suffice to simply export finished end products from China. You have to cooperate with and benefit local partners, people, governments, communities, and societies to really engage them, to empowering them to achieve mutual benefit. In local, for regional, as we call it. The key is to leverage the strong muscle and capability that Chinese enterprises have developed in highly competitive domestic markets to better serve the global local markets. Of course, under the premise to be able to do fundraising locally, serve local customers, and capitalize on the local markets if the timing were right. As for the US sanctions, we really need to look at it from different perspectives. For some lower-end manufacturing sectors, they are certainly more vulnerable because they are very cost-sensitive. However, most of these industries have already shifted to somewhere like Vietnam, Mexico, and even other countries in Southeast Asia or Latin America region. I mean, if you follow closely on Chinese export data over the past 2 or 3 years, even amid the trade war, the decline in Chinese export to the US has been largely offset by the growth in exports to Southeast Asia and Latin America region. In other words, many of the end products that were previously exported directly from China to the US or Europe have been preserved through some kind of a roundabout approach by exporting components, doing something like a CKD or SKD model. On the other hand, for some strategic sectors, such as PV, electronic vehicle, batteries, semiconductors, or even medical and health tech industries, we are more optimistic about a cooperative or win-win model, especially under the Trump's administration. This kind of America First international strategy, which to me is essentially aimed to harvest the benefits of all other countries to protect its own. This is exactly how we concluded at a in local for regional strategy, because we are foreseeing a more fragmented world in the future. Every regional leading country has extremely strong motivation to cooperate with complementary partners to jointly protect their sovereignty and economic interests in such a highly fragmented global environment. Since we're running out of time, I hope this episode could help you understand the whole background and initiative for Chinese companies going global. If you are an entrepreneur in emerging markets seeking for partnering with Chinese companies, feel free to reach out. You can always find our contacts in the show notes. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more insightful discussion. And please do share this episode with your friends and colleagues if you find it helpful. And leave a comment to let us know your thoughts. Remember, your feedback always helps us improve.